Welcome back to Backward Point Podcast. My name is Nazar Sayed. It's been a minute since we've seen each other, guys. I hope you guys are doing well. With me, as always, is my brother and my co-host,
Bashar Sayed.
Today is a beautiful day on this podcast. It's been a very long time since we've had a day like this. Feels like weeks, feels like years, almost. It's been a long time since we get to say this, but Pakistan has finally secured a win in the Cricket World Cup 2023. Congratulations to all celebrating. It's a beautiful day to be a Pakistan cricket fan. As you can see, energies are still solemn. Vibes are still low. You know, nervousness and anxiety is still in the air. People are still a little bit anxious about what's actually happening and what's going on. And on this podcast, we'll be dissecting each and everything. But before we can do that, Bashar, any words on the win today or what we're talking about? Feelings, vibes?
Pakistan's first win after 4 consecutive losses. This is the first win that my nephew has witnessed ever since his birth, which has now been over 2 weeks, I reckon.
Yeah.
So finally good to get back in the W. Get that W for Babar Azam. I know it's a win against Bangladesh, so it's a win nonetheless. You know, a win is a win.
Convincing win with like lots of deliveries to spare. Fakhar back in form. Shaheen back in form. Lots of things to talk about. But before that, as always, you know what we have to do, bro. We have to thank our Patreon fam.
Shout out.
Patreon fam is the reason that this podcast is delighted. If you guys want to join it, links in the description, links in the bio. And then shout out to our YouTube and Spotify gang as well. We're actually growing rapidly on Spotify, which is an amazing achievement. That's where I know like the real diehards are, because they just want to listen to us and they don't want to see our faces. But you know, we're not offended. We love it. You guys can sign up to the memberships. They're all in the description. If you guys want to support the podcast, it's $2.99 in Canada, $2 in, you know, the US, you know, London, wherever you guys are. It's just the coffee, guys. Even cheaper than a coffee. If you guys go to Starbucks, pumpkin spice latte, $4.50 grande. So I'm upset about that, but that's a whole different podcast. Patreon fam, you guys are the best. We have Patreon questions that we're taking throughout the podcast. So don't worry, guys. You guys are not forgotten. And then Discord, you know, the place to be after every Pakistan game and during Pakistan games, actually throughout the World Cup. You know, the Discord fam has sort of created this amazing, beautiful community where I literally wake up before checking Cricket Info. I'm like, guys, what happened? Tell me what happened. Should I even bother to check Cricket Info? Is it worth it? So Discord fam, you guys know who you are. 10 out of 10 to you guys. You guys need to join over to the Patreon fam so we can grow that up and, you know, take less money from the advertisers. That being said, that was all the positives we were going to talk about. But I guess the agenda for today, we start with the negatives, Bashar. You set up the brochure for today. You wanted to talk about, you know, the most amateur cricket board in the world, I would say. Like the BCB, the Bangladeshi Cricket Board, is taking notes at this point. What's going on with the Pendu Cricket Board?
Pakistan Comedy Board, PCB.
Yeah, Pakistan. Or that one. That one works too.
I think, I wanted to talk about the match, but before the match, this episode is chaptered wherever you're listening to it. So if you want, you know, feel free to skip forward. But I feel like this win, this part of the podcast is important as a build up to the actual match and what's about to come in the next few matches for Pakistan. So there's chaos in the PCB. Pakistan loses a few matches in the World Cup, and I'm just explaining this from a timeline point of view as to what's happened and why it's happening right now. And like, what is actually happening? Like, it's surprising. It's shocking. I can't actually believe it's happening in a professional cricket board organization. So again, Pakistan losing a few matches. The PCB issues a media release saying that this is the team picked by the Pakistan captain Babar Azam and the chief selector at the time, Inzamamul Haq. And then a few days later, Rashid Latif, former captain, comes out on the PTV Sports and he says that Babar Azam has been messaging the chairman and the chairman is not replying.
Now pause. Do you think that's a news that Rashid Latif should have broken at that time?
I think Rashid Latif wanted to give some context as to what the players are going through mentally. And just part of this whole fiasco is that the Pakistani players have not been paid for 5 months. You know, they were negotiating a contract, shares from the ICC revenue to the players, higher salaries. So that was all negotiated, but the contracts have not been physically signed yet. So unless you don't sign the contracts, they're not executed. and the payment cannot be released from the PCB to the players.
Okay, but then my whole point is like, why would Rashid Latif come on national television, like literally state-owned television, and at the PTV and be like, hey, Babar's trying to DM the Zaka Ashraf, but Zaka Ashraf is like leaving him on ghost. What is all that about?
So that's part of the whole plan, right? So the PCB at this point, the Pakistan is losing. They're virtually eliminated from the tournament.
We'll talk about that.
They're preparing to make Babar Azam as a scapegoat. They're preparing him. And part of that is Babar trying to reach out to the PCB executive and him not even having the respect to respond to Babar Azam, to reply to him. And I think that was disrespectful, A. And B, it just shows where Babar Azam stands in front of the PCB right now. So I respect Rashid Latif for breaking the news, but then the PCB chairman does a few things. So the first thing he does is he books an interview with Shoaib Judd. 40-minute interview, responding to all the negativity, putting more dirt on Rashid Latif.
And why Shoaib Judd?
That's also a good question. And this is all part of the anti-Babar agenda. So the channel that Shoaib Judd works for appears to have an anti-Babar agenda. And this all seems to be bubbling since Babar Azam left Karachi Kings, which this channel owns. And I don't see any other reason why any channel would hire Shoaib Judd. A person like him shouldn't be anywhere near television, near humans even. So for them to hire Shoaib Judd, I think he's there just to push the anti-Babar agenda any chance he gets. So the chairman books an interview with Shoaib Judd, throws further dirt on Babar Azam, Inzamam, the previous chairman's, what's going on in the PCB, not taking responsibility and onus for any actions he's done. And to further that, there was a WhatsApp conversation between the PCB's COO, the Chief Operating Officer, Salman Nasir, who messaged Babar Azam asking if he had indeed received any calls from the chairman, to which Babar Azam replied that he did not call the chairman. Now, there's a bit of a play of words here because Rashid Latif mentioned that Babar messaged the chairman, whereas the question from that Salman Nasir asked Babar Azam was, did you call him? To Babar Azam said, I did not call him. And then that screenshot, I think what the paper trail of that is, it gets sent to the chairman. The chairman then leaks it over to Shoaib Judd. Shoaib Judd on ARY, the night before it gets broadcasted, mentioned that he's going to bring the screenshot to the next show, which he does. And then Wasim Badami and co. played that message on national television without Babar Azam's consent. It's a private conversation. I don't care what the context of the conversation is, but the point is you cannot be leaking any chats of the Pakistan captain. Like there needs to be a sense of respect and privacy and ethics and morals, and it seems like none of those are there.
We're just talking about like borderline baseline ethics. We're not even trying to go overboard and be like, protect your captain, which you should ethically as well do if you're the chairman of the board. But this is just going to like the scummiest level and the deepest level of just, I don't know. Is this treason? Smells like treason to me. A little bit. Like if you're going behind your captain and you're basically initiating a coup, right? You want to come over, you want to sack the captain, you want to get you get your person on board, etc., etc. We've seen this happen so many times in the history and the politics of Pakistan, and now we're seeing it in a micro level in the cricket of Pakistan, which is, if not the best, but probably the only institution that is sort of working and has been consistently working, even though it's this example is the worst example of how the best institution in Pakistan is this. You know what I'm trying to say? It's shameful. It's sad. It was a circus. It was just complete chaos in the past couple of days leading to the Bangladesh game. I don't even know how these kids like stepped up to the game and like performed. I know it's Bangladesh. Maybe no disrespect, but the competition isn't as fierce as a South Africa or what have you. But props to them. Props to Babar Azam. Now, one thing that's happened because of this is that the whole narrative around Babar Azam has shifted. Even we were critical of Babar Azam, and we still are. There are glaring mistakes that he continues to make, and there are mistakes that he can definitely learn from if he wants to continue being Pakistan's captain. But there was there was a sense of like we're ready to move on from the Babar Azam era, and the support was sort of he was loosening his grip on the captaincy every single day that was passing, and because of this fiasco, it's been a 180. Everyone's right back, even us. Like I feel like I want to back up Babar Azam to at least the next tour, because what they're doing to him is shameful. They would never do this to someone like Imran Khan. He was too powerful, and when you're winning games. I think this agenda had started not now, but like you can trace it back to the 2021 T20 World Cup. Since when Shoaib Jet was asking these questions about when are you leaving captaincy, your strike rate's too low, you're not making proper decisions. In a World Cup where Babar Azam was unbeaten until the semifinal, his team was unbeaten in the semifinal. And then 2022, the crack sort of shows up, but still Babar makes the final, so you can't really do anything. And now it seems like the leeches have sort of come back to bite. And it's tough. I, as someone who's loyal to the Pakistan cricket team more than the Pakistan cricket board, because those are two very different things. You have to differentiate that. I'm loyal to Babar Azam and his men. I'm loyal to this cricket team. They are the ones who are going out and fighting. They're the ones who are being treated wrongly by their own cricket board. It's players over products for me, and Babar will have my support throughout this World Cup. Definitely needs to, improve in certain areas, and he has, but especially with this win, which we'll talk about. But, Ali from Patreon was the one who was asking the question. He said, how do you feel about the absolute circus the PCB has become? How do we expect our team to be world beaters when the brass is so rotten to its core? I totally agree with you, Ali. We should not be expecting this. And the fact that the boys are still going out underpaid, like think about it like this. A lot of us work for, corporations, white collar jobs or whatever, even blue collar jobs. If you go to your factory, if you go to your workplace, if you go to your hospital, accounts office, whatever, and they haven't paid you in 5 terms, 5 paychecks you haven't gotten, would you go another day?
Or even if you would go, what kind of effort would you be putting out there?
Fair enough. Yeah. Like, I know these guys love playing cricket, and that's their passion, and they would do it for free, and they have for a long time. Like, a lot of these people make money like near the middle end of their career, not at the start. But then when they make it, they shouldn't be checking over their shoulders to make sure the bag is in the bank. This is not the way that a professional organization should work. How it should work, what is wrong, we can go into that. That's a whole other 3-hour podcast that would lead to a different problem and solution altogether, but it's shameful. I cannot back the PCB right now. If Pakistan does wonders and makes it to the semis and makes it to the finals, it will be at no behest and no credit to the PCB. These guys did it on their own. They deserve the credit. Zaga Ashraf should stay away from this team.
I think Pakistan cricket's issues are much deeply rooted than the cricket team itself. It's more towards the PCB level, the grassroots level. And the easiest way to visually show that maybe you've solved problems is just removing the captain post World Cup, right? We've seen that happen time and time again. Starting the 2010 T20 World Cup, you go to the semis, Afridi gets removed from captaincy, Mohammad Hafiz comes in, he captains for 2 World Cups, 2014 T20 World Cup, he resigns, 2015 ODI World Cup, Misbah resigns, 2016 T20 World Cup, Afridi gets removed, 2019 ODI World Cup, Sarfraz gets removed. So it's just the easiest solution, right? Just remove the captain, change the face of the team, and that looks like you're making big changes. And I don't think that's more like a easy fix, but the problems, the elephant is in the room, the cat is staring right at you, and you're ignoring the fact that it's there.
Sometimes I thought the Ijaz Butt versus Afridi era was probably the worst, Ijaz Butt being the most incompetent PCB chairman of all time, in my opinion. But this is really taking the cake. We haven't seen this kind of melodrama from the PCB in a very long time. And yeah, I just hope it gets resolved. I want to hear about it. I want to talk about it because, this podcast, we love talking about Pakistan cricket. It's one of our favorite things. But then when you have to go into the nitty gritties and you have to talk about the politics behind the scenes and what's going on and who's that, and it just gets disgusting and boring. And I just hope that this is the last we're hearing of this, which I probably don't think is the case. It's just wishful thinking. But for now, I think we should move into the game, Bashar, because this can go on and on.
Pakistan goes with 3 changes in the match. Fakhar Zaman comes in for Imam ul Haq, Salman Agha comes in for Mohammad Nawaz, and Usama Mir comes in for Shadab Khan.
Shadab Khan, who has a concussion, by the way.
There's conspiracies out there that he was faking the concussion.
No, man, come on.
It's a conspiracy. Don't shoot the messenger.
I'm just saying Shadab is not that guy who would fake stuff like that. He's a team player. I don't think Shadab is the guy that you point. Ahmed Shahzad. Remember when that happened? He went off the stretcher. Holy, this guy was a drama queen. But Shadab is a real one. He wants to be there for the team, even if he's not in form. He gives it 100%. I wouldn't put that on Shady at all. But 3 changes for Pakistan. We don't know how the Salman Ali Agha versus Nawaz change worked because Salman didn't bowl, but that was definitely something that could come back or either bite or prove to be a godsend in the next few games. Osama for Shadab, I think it's the best change you could make. It makes sense.
We'll talk about it later, but the thing is that every time Osama Mir plays, Shadab looks better. Every time Shadab plays, Osama Mir looks better. And then
when they both play,
they both look crap. So I don't know what's going on. Like, this is the weakest Pakistan spin department since I can remember. And it is very sad for me to say this because this is a Pakistan spin department.
Who was the spinners in the 2019 World Cup? There was Shadab, Imad,
And Hafiz.
Okay, those were good ones. Yeah, because you could bank on all 3 of them.
Even Malik could ball some overs.
Did he?
He did. He got the wicket of Owen Morgan against England.
Good for you, Malik.
So
A plus. Get it?
So you had options, right? So in this World Cup, it just seems like.
I mean, this World Cup you have options as well. Shady, Osama, Ifti.
Come on, Ifti's bowling the new ball. Are you kidding me?
It's working.
It's working against the Bangladesh team.
It worked against South Africa as well, kind of.
But it's not. It may not work against bigger teams like New Zealand or England.
Who is left?
New Zealand and England.
Yeah, that's it.
New Zealand is a World Cup winning contender.
We need to talk about England. I think we should do a separate podcast on that. Yes. We wanted to shoot it last night. Things got in the way. But England cannot. If you and I go and start a bowling attack, England might be bowled out for 90. Your medium fast pace would bamboozle Bairstow any day. And my, Shahid for these spinners, you know me. They can't read me. They don't know me.
They cannot play him.
They cannot play me.
Speaking of, they cannot play him.
I'm just saying, Ifti against England, why are you rolling your eyes, bro?
You can't tell me that Ifti's going to be bamboozling England and New Zealand.
This England team is on the bottom of the table. What are you talking about?
Still, Ifti is only effective against left-handers, and New Zealand, I think, has a righty in their top order. England has a Bairstow. I would not risk Ifti bowling the new ball against them, bro. I would not. Trust me.
Opinions. Everybody has them.
So Shaheen comes in with the new ball, takes 3 outswingers, I think 4 outswingers. The 5th one nips back, hits the pads, LBW, brings up Shaheen Afridi's 100th ODI wicket. He is the quickest fast bowler in the history of ODI cricket to 100 wickets. Takes it in 51 games. Mitchell Starc was the record holder before Shaheen, who took it in 52 matches. Shaheen's pace, a point of concern because he was bowling in the low mid 130s. I don't know what's going on with his pace. I don't know if it's a cautious thing where he's actually bowling slower, because the game against Afghanistan, his average pace was 140. He even clocked in upwards of 145. So
it's not like he's incapable. It's just
he
that.
What is it? Is it his knee? Is it his finger? Is it low effort? What's going on? I don't know what's going on.
Is it load management? If you bowl in 3 overs of 140, maybe you're not able to bowl the 7.
He bowled 5 overs up front today. A good spell, 5 overs, 1 maiden, 2 wickets.
Would you say vintage Afridi's back?
He's gotten smarter. We talked about last podcast. He's definitely become a smarter bowler. And Usama Mir has become a gun fielder ever since he's dropped the catch of David Warner. He took a really good catch, which was Shaheen's 2nd wicket. And then Pakistan, credits to Haris Shroff's 3rd wicket, had Bangladesh 23 for 3. And I think this is the point where we have to talk about Babar Azam's captaincy.
Let's go.
Because how do you have an opposition 23 for 3 and they still go on to score 200? Now, it's a mixture of bad captaincy and poor bowling. because you cannot blame Babar Azam for Usama Mir bowling poorly. For Usama Mir bowling a full toss, a half tracker, and a full ball in the same over. So at this level, these batsmen are so trained that they will put these ball away for boundaries at will. So what's going on? Should Babar be more attacking? How does he become more attacking? There's pressure not being built on both ends, and that's what's constantly leaking runs. It's letting batsmen become more set. It's letting partnerships build, and eventually the game slowly slipping away from Pakistan. Had this been a better team, like in New Zealand, like in England, they would have made you pay. They would have probably gone on to score 280, 290, 200 plus.
Yeah, Osama bowled his full 10, right?
Yes.
For 66.
Osama was very expensive today. Considering the context of the match.
Considering how
66.
many runs were scored, definitely. That's like a wild
Got
third of the
smashed
runs.
for 3 6s and 5 4s. So the question is from Umer from Patreon. He says, regarding our spin department, I think Osama is being inconsistent with his deliveries. Do you replace him with Shadab, who will give you an extra batting option, but his bowling is out of form? Or do you stick with Osama for the next 2 games? Well, I think the first response is it really depends on if Shadab is fit or not. And secondly, do you take the risk of playing Shadab?
Or do you call in an Abrar for reserves and just sit out Shadab for the rest of the tournament?
I think if Pakistan should know in the next 24 hours if New Zealand beats South Africa, I think Pakistan's qualification chances are done. Then they might be able to take Shadab out the 15, bring Abrar in, and play him against New Zealand.
What's the point at that point?
Just to give him a chance.
Is there, computationally speaking, if New Zealand beats South Africa, is Pakistan out?
I believe so. Because the only chance for Pakistan to qualify is if they qualify ahead of New Zealand.
Or Australia?
I haven't explored the scenario of Australia not qualifying.
Because they're the same points, different... sorry, I'm just opening up the table. They're the same points, but different NRRs.
The stat that I read, and I think it's because of the oppositions that Australia is about to face next.
Bangladesh, Afghanistan are one of the two that Australia has to
they
face.
ain't losing against them. Sorry, buddy.
You never know. Afghanistan?
So they're facing England next, and Pakistan has to also qualify ahead of England. So Australia winning there might be helpful. There's a whole calculation, but again, like I mentioned, Australia is facing Afghanistan after that, and they also have a game against Bangladesh. So yeah, Australia not qualifying it's not happening. So it has to be New Zealand.
And New Zealand has all the tough games left. They have Pakistan, they have South Africa, and they have India.
No.
Sri Lanka. There we go.
Yeah.
So sorry. New Zealand has Pakistan, South Africa. So Pakistan, South Africa, and Sri Lanka. Yes. South Africa's game is tomorrow. Pakistan's game is in 3 days or 4 days from now. And then the last game is against Sri Lanka. So technically, honestly speaking, New Zealand just has... If Sri Lanka beats New Zealand, Pakistan's through because New Zealand will be stuck at 8 points.
I have a totally different point of view on this. I don't think Pakistan should qualify for top 4. They haven't played good cricket. They haven't played like a top 4 team. They haven't beaten any of the top 4 teams. They were just close to beating South Africa. I understand that, but that was, again, it would have been credits to your magical bowling lineup. As a team, as an all-round team, you've played poorly. You've bowled horribly in the middle overs. You haven't played modern day cricket in terms of batting. So even if hypothetically Pakistan gets to the top 4, they'll likely make it at the number 4 spot. India, I don't see losing against any team. So I don't want to see an India versus Pakistan semi-final.
But
because India is going to demolish Pakistan.
But
they're going to bombard Pakistan. It's gonna be a one-sided affair. Rohit scores 100. Shubman scores a double 100.
Everyone scores 100.
Pakistan lose by 10 runs.
1,100 runs.
I don't want to see that. So it's better that Pakistan finishes at number 5 or 6, goes home respectfully, regroups for the next World Cup.
Okay, but hear me out. What about the game that we just witnessed today? Fakhar back in form, 80 off 74. Shaheen Afridi back in form. Everyone's kind of
Sorry
gelling,
to
clicking.
be negative here, but against who? Who are you playing against?
Shaheen took
Does the opposition not matter?
Shaheen took 5 for 54 against
This was the same
Australia.
Pakistan team who was unbeatable against Nepal and Bangladesh in the Asia Cup and a New Zealand C team. And
Fakhar wasn't performing then.
against Australia, you looked like you were outblown towards the end. You did not have the depth to chase that runs. Against India, you got a collapse from 150 for 2 to 191 all out. So how are you telling me that this is a world class team?
Because the players that you were banking on are starting to click in. China really has 13 wickets or 13 or 14
16
wickets.
wickets.
16 wickets in this World Cup right now with 2 games to go. Like, you cannot sit here and be like, that's nothing. Shaheen Afridi has taken wickets up front, in the middle, near the end. His average is 16 or 17. His economy is like 5 point something. He's found his form. Fakhar clicking right now, and if he continues clicking for the next 2 games and we find ourselves in the semis against India, you're not saying Fakhar's going to show up?
I'm saying that better teams will bowl better to Fakhar. You might get away with putting away Bangladesh, but come the game against New Zealand, even England, they might not let Fakhar score that many runs.
I see what you're saying. I see your hesitancy. I see where you're worrying as well. I mean, there's no proof of Pakistan even being remotely competitive this entire tournament. I see all of that. And I respect that. But, people in the comment section will go ahead and criticize me for being delulu. And I might be a little bit delulu because today's game actually gave me a rush of that Pakistani quote-unquote hal. When Pakistan wins in an emphatic fashion, you feel that spiritual connection. You're like, oh my God, this is the team that I supported, especially with the whole backdrop of the PCB thing that we were just talking about. Supporting this team just feels like an obligatory decision for me. But in a situation where Pakistan finds himself at number 4 and finds himself battling against India, it's a whole different ballgame, bro.
So the whole net run rate thing is in a scenario where Pakistan has to win all of their next games by huge margins, and Pakistan is facing New Zealand and England, so tough matches, and then New Zealand has to lose by huge margins. So even if Pakistan wins and New Zealand loses, it has to be by good margins for Pakistan and
South Africa,
by huge margins by New Zealand.
South Africa bats first tomorrow, hits 400, bowls out New Zealand for 220.
And then you wake up. Like, how can you be this delulu, bro? I don't know.
South Africa just did that with England. They just did that. South Africa, I mean, come on, bro.
New Zealand almost just chased 380 against an Australian bowling attack. What makes you think they'll be all out for 220?
South Africa has a better bowling attack. They have Janssen.
I doubt it.
He's tall.
I doubt it. You can keep dreaming. It's not happening, bro.
You think South Africa is going to beat New Zealand, though, tomorrow? What about that?
It'll be a good match. It'll be a good match because this is one of the top teams. I think this might even be potentially one of the semifinals before the semifinals. It's
I see what you mean.
Trial game because right now they're at number 2 and 3 on the table. If they stay there, that'll be semifinal number 1 or 2.
So you feel like tomorrow is like
I feel like the top 4 teams are locked in. It's going to take an out of body effort for Pakistan to qualify or for New Zealand to not qualify. That's just a fact, and I know many of you may not want to hear that. It's super tough.
Man, that Afghanistan game.
I hope I'm wrong.
Afghanistan game is coming back to bite us, honestly.
So Bangladesh is then 141 for 6, and again back to Babar's captaincy, he's getting overs out of Iftikhar and Usama Mir. My opinion is that Babar Azam is that kind of a captain that he is always thinking about the full 50 overs. He's thinking about who's going to bowl the death, who's going to bowl in the last 15 overs, last 10 overs. So in essence, he's not really looking to get the opposition all out. The last game against South Africa, he genuinely looked like he wanted to get the opposition all out. So he brought back his best bowlers. They were bowling from both ends, and they nearly almost did the job for Pakistan. But here again, Babar, I don't know what he's doing, getting overs out of 50, out of Usama. And, Usama is getting smacked around, the worst economy of all the Pakistan bowlers today. So, I don't know, maybe could there have been an opportunity for Pakistan to bring Salman Agha for a few overs? Because that's what Shazzy's asking from Patreon.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could have done that if you especially wanted to try him against Nawaz. That would have been a good opportunity for you to be like, hey, bowl a few. Let me see how that goes with you. I mean, Salman Agha has taken wickets in the past, so I wouldn't put it past him to do that again. I just like the fact that we went with the 5 bowling strategy and we stuck with it. I like that. Bowling out Usama Mir, And Iftikhar, I see what you're saying, but even together, they only gave like 120 runs. So that's not that bad. In 20 overs, come on. Could have been worse.
I wanted to talk about the
110, my bad. My math was so bad on that. Yeah.
Shaheen versus Mahmudullah delivery. The ICC brought back the Wasim Bhai versus Aaron Lamb delivery from the 92 World Cup.
ICC been tripping, bro.
ICC been tripping,
Did you
dog.
see the ICC posting Wasim Jr.'s helicopter shot right above Mahendra Singh Dhoni's helicopter shot?
Above MS Dhoni's. That's I don't know, man. It's
What is
some
the
people
ICC on?
commented saying that Wasim's was better. I don't know.
That was
I don't
Wasim's
know.
family commenting. The juniors were commenting. They were like, bro, that was beautiful. We want more of that. I don't know, man. I mean, Shaheen, I feel like the ICC sort of, I don't mind the Shaheen versus Wasim comparison only because of what Ravi Shastri said. Ever since Ravi Shastri made that comment, Shaheen has taken like 8 wickets at the average of like 16. And I'm just like, love it. I like to see that. I love to see that. So as long as Ravi Shastri is being whooped across the ground, I don't mind.
Yeah, so if you don't know, Ravi Shastri mentioned that let's not overhype Shaheen Afridi. He's a good bowler, but he's no Wasim Akram.
And boom.
And since then, I think he took a 5-for against Australia. He's been bowling brilliantly well. And actually, another stat for Shaheen is that he has now moved up to the 4th place for the most wickets for Pakistan in ODI World Cups. He is now only behind Wasim Akram, Bahar Riaz, and Imran Khan.
The fact that Wahab Riaz is still there is a shocker to me. But, you know, that's just life.
I think there needs to be another apology from you to Wasim Jr. for cleaning up the tail.
Oh my God. Okay. So how many apologies do the Pakistan cricket fans want from me for Wasim Jr.? I've already issued one before.
As many as needed.
Okay. I'll apologize again. I'm sorry, Wasim Jr., that you were shit for the past 3 months. You're sort of picking up your stride, and I appreciate that. As long as he's taking wickets for Pakistan and containing runs, I will keep apologizing.
My man was bowling over 140 clicks, reverse swing, slingy action, shampoo in the hair.
Yo, I want to talk about the shampoo for a second. Does he actually have a deal with a hair care product?
No, but he should. You know, I think back in the day, Afridi had a head and shoulders,
bro.
He was the face of Head and Shoulders. I think Wasim Jr. brands, if you haven't signed him up yet, now is the time.
Gotta do it.
Pakistan restrict Bangladesh to a score of 204. Credits to Wasim Jr. for cleaning up the tail. Shaheen Afridi finishes with spells that are best for Pakistan. 9 overs, 1 maiden, 3 for 23. Pakistan comes to bat, and Fakhar is back. I want to talk about why Fakhar was dropped in the first place. But Fakhar Zaman had a stellar home season when New Zealand came to Pakistan. I think he scored a few centuries. He was the man of the series, man of the match in the few matches. But post that series, he had a dip in form. Even when he was here in Canada for the GT20, he wasn't able to score, impactful big innings. That transferred to him going to the LPL, the Afghanistan series, the Asia Cup, and eventually the Pakistan team decided to drop Fakhar Zaman. And Abdullah Shafiq came to replace him, and Abdullah Shafiq instantly started scoring runs. And it made sense that Abdullah should replace Fakhar and the team. And I feel like that was a huge loss for the Pakistan team because Fakhar was the only batsman in the top 4 who is an aggressive batsman, who is not an anchor. And we really missed Fakhar Zaman during the past few matches. We know how big of a match winner he is. He actually is one of the few batsmen in the world who has an average of over 45 and strike rate of over 90, up there with Virat Kohli, Viv Richards, and a few other batsmen.
The original
AB de Villiers. And today, he was struggling in the beginning. He was 3 off 11 balls.
Played a whole maiden.
And then he hits a slog 6 to Taskin Ahmed, 95 meters. And it looked like the old Fakhar Zaman was back. It was as if you were reuniting with an old friend and you were meeting him again after many, many months. And the great part was that nothing's changed.
It was a beautiful moment, and the best reaction of all was the commentators who just like did not see it coming. I think it was a crack off the bat. It was so pure. It was the middle of the middle. It's like the crack that every batsman wants to hear off their blade, and it just went flying 99 meter six or 95 meter six. That's what you expect from Fakhar Zaman. And then he just didn't stop there. That was the beginning. 7 sixes in that innings. He just went ballistic. You know, he caught up to the ball, to the deliveries that he was chasing, and he ended up with an over 100 strike rate, which is exactly what you expect from Fakhar Zaman. Fakhar Zaman is back. That's why I'm happy and kind of annoyed that if he had just been back a couple games before, maybe Pakistan would be in the top 4 already.
That's exactly what Kavish is asking. Kavish says from Patreon, did Pakistan miss the trick by playing Fakhar Zaman not earlier, or was the break he got needed? I mean, he's saying that Pakistan could have maybe given him a break against Sri Lanka and India, but why this long, and was this long of a break needed?
I mean, Imam was in the runs. That's why. That's a simple answer. Imam was in the runs. Now, people are debating how he was in the runs, run-a-ball runs, were they impactful runs, were they just runs off the top to like secure his place? You can debate all you want. Comment section is ready for you guys. But that's the reason why Fakhar wasn't in the playing 11. Now, it's hard to say if Fakhar was given a chance. Would he have performed? Sometimes you just need time off, a distance from the game, progression in the team a little bit for your need to come back. And even in this beginning of this game, he looked rusty. It was only after that 6 that went ballistic that he sort of regained his confidence. We've been saying this on this podcast since the beginning. It's all about confidence. It's all about Fakhar finding his stride. And I told you, one game full of confidence where he's in the middle for a longer time. He played for 124 minutes today. He was there for about 30 overs or 25 overs, right? That's a long time for you to stay in the middle, especially if you haven't been scoring runs. So I'm glad that Fakhar was in the runs. I'm glad that he's found his stride. I hope that it translates over. I hope that we get a big century from him in this World Cup. And it's just beautiful to see. Now, it wouldn't have made any sense for him to score big without an assistance from the other side. That's why Abdullah Shafiq comes in. And what a player, man. He has 323 runs in this World Cup. It's his first World Cup. He's already averaging 52. He has 4 scores of 50 plus, 1 century under chasing conditions against Sri Lanka. And just a wonderful partner to have on the other end. He scored at almost a run a ball. That's what you need. And you know, he even played some shots that were like amazing. That pull shot that went for 6 over.
The sound off his bat.
Oh my God. You posted it on your Instagram story and I was like, yeah, I totally feel that. The way that connected and the reverberation through the ground when you hear like the middle of the middle, it's just amazing. It's like almost like Zeus's thunderbolt clap. It's that powerful. And I love to hear that. I love ABD doing that. I love Fakhar Zaman, you know, hitting it from the middle as well. So the top order coming in, hitting you for 128. That was the game right there.
Why do you keep calling him ABD?
Why not?
We talked about how we were cringing when the Indians were calling Bumrah Boom Boom. So why are you calling Abdullah ABD?
I call him ABD. Bro, his Lahore Qalandars, his shirt was ABD.
Was it? I want to double check that.
Double check it for me. I feel like it was. I've seen it on him,
but
that's why I see it. That's why I started calling it.
But I feel like ABD's that's trademarked to AB de Villiers. So let's just call him Abdullah Shafiq.
I'm not going to do that.
Why?
I want to call him ABD. I want to make that a thing. What's wrong with that?
Then why do you have an issue with Indians calling him Boom Boom?
But because that's like Boom Boom is like trademark Shahid Afridi.
And ABD's trademark Abdullah Shafiq. Sorry. Oh my God. Slip of tongue.
The Mandela effect is here. Yes. Yes. It's over. The debate is over. Abdullah is ABD. Done.
The range of shots that Abdullah Shafiq has is insane. He can play straight down the ground. He can play over the top. He can sweep the ball. He can play a pull shot. It seems like he is a bit ahead of his colleagues in terms of playing on the front foot and the back foot. And I think he has a very bright future ahead. He is one of the only 5 players in this World Cup so far who have 4 scores of 50 plus, up there with Virat Kohli. He is the 8th highest run scorer in this World Cup, 1 century, 350s, strike rate of over 95. And I think today, with Fakhar Zaman opening with him, just gave him that extra bit of confidence to play his game. Also, Lahore Qalandars agenda. Both of these guys open for Lahore Qalandars in the PSL. So they are very familiar with their with their games. They've won 2 PSLs batting opening together.
Love to see it, bro. Love to see it. You know, Lahore Qalandar's agenda, I kind of like it.
Hint, hint, wink, wink. 128 run partnership by the two of them. And I think that just helped set the platform for Pakistan to try and finish the game quickly to help improve their net run rate. Babar Azam out against spin cheaply. I saw what he was doing. I knew he was trying to hit it over the top. There was a fielder there. Babar has a knack of struggling against off spin, which is very, very strange because off spin typically is the easier ball to play. It's spinning in. You should be able to sweep it, come down the track, take singles and doubles. But Babar's just been struggling against that.
There's a conspiracy theory out there that every time Babar scores cheaply or sheepish runs, Pakistan win.
That's a sad stat.
I'm just saying. He scored 9 today. Pakistan won. I mean, obviously,
I am not gonna sit here and pray for Babar Azam.
No. I'm just saying that's just a stat. I'm just, people are talking about it. It's a conspiracy theory. I was kind of disappointed at the way that Babar got out. That's not your game. That's not what you're here to do. You know what? Fakhar had already hit a 6 in that over, so you don't need to go back to back in that same over. I know you're trying to finish it early, but you could have just knocked it over. Taking a couple. That also helps finishing the game early. But I guess, intent was what we were looking at, but execution also matters. So I would like Babar to keep playing his game, 100 strike rate, 105 strike rate. Let's keep it at that. Don't need to go full 130, 140. That's not his game. That's not what he does best. He needs to be in the scores. That way Pakistan win.
Babar gets out. Rizwan comes in. There's a question from Tabish from Patreon. Tabish says, thoughts on flexibility in the batting order to finish the game within 30 overs or less to improve our net run rate? Perhaps if Fakhar could have been promoted to finish the game off quicker, which could have made the difference in the end for net run rate. Thoughts?
I disagree with Tabish on this one. I think that they finished still at 32 point something, right? So they were pretty close at the 30 over mark, like closer to the 30 over mark that they were aiming for. I think it's fine. Rizwan played fast. He has 24 off 15 or something. So it didn't really make a difference at the end. You could have sent whoever. I think they finished at the right amount of time. That's my opinion.
I like that the whole team was striving to finish it quickly. Like Fakhar in the press conference mentioned that if he wanted to, he could have played slowly, gone to score a World Cup 100, but instead he had the team's goal ahead of his personal goal. I kind of disagree. I think it could have been possible to send Iftikhar ahead of Rizwan maybe. Rizwan played quickly still, but yeah, finishing it within the 30 overs would have helped Pakistan's net run rate.
They would have been positive right now.
It would have been positive, but they're still struggling right now. And again, we've been talking about this since the first match, how the net runner is going to be playing a key role in this World Cup during the later half. And we're exactly in that stage where net run rate matters more than ever.
Pakistan's 5 on the table right now with 7 games played. And Pakistan will need to qualify ahead of New Zealand if they want to make it. Australia, like we said, discussed before, that's probably not the option that they're going to go through. Australia has easier games, so they're probably going to see themselves secure the 12 points and move forward. New Zealand is the only team that you can bank on to choke here. They have to lose against South Africa. They have to lose against Sri Lanka. They have to lose against us. That's as simple as that.
And they have to lose by big margins.
No, so if they lose, so I just did the math. If they lose against Sri Lanka, South Africa, and Pakistan is through on points.
Okay.
Feel me?
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. So Pakistan is 2 points if Sri Lanka beats New Zealand. If Sri Lanka beats New Zealand, Pakistan are 100% through on points. If New Zealand beats Sri Lanka, which is the more likely situation, then we're on net run rate. Then we're kind of screwed over.
But it's, to sum it up, it's tough.
It's very tough.
It's a tough ask.
Because it's out of your hands. It's out of the Pakistan cricket team's hands, and it's in the hands of the other. What the most that Pakistan cricket team can do is try to beat the remaining 2 teams, which is England and who's the other one? New Zealand itself, with big margins and try to secure the gap between the 2 net run rates. Apart from that, there's not much that Pakistan can do. And if New Zealand beats South Africa tomorrow, it's kind of over.
Speaking of Pakistan's next few games, there's a question from Omer Siddiqui from Patreon. He says, my question is, should we drop Haris Rauf and bring in Hassan Ali for the match in Bangalore against New Zealand? Haris ends up leaking runs in the first couple of overs, which releases the pressure on the opposition. Hassan, on the other hand, can ball in the power play with Shaheen instead of Iftikhar, and also can bowl good in the death overs. So would you bring in Hassan Ali just to have that protection in case Ifti goes for runs with the new ball? Because I don't really trust Iftikhar with the new ball at all. I would rather go with the Hassan Ali with the new ball.
No, I wouldn't do that. So you're saying play 4 pacers? Or
No, you take Haris Roof out
No,
and
you
you put
can't do
Hassan
that.
Ali back in. No.
You can't do that. No, he's the only bowler who's consistently bowling 145 plus. You can't take him off. He's a really good death bowler. The only reason that Pakistan is even in this tournament is that because Pakistan has gone in and taken some amazing spells and taken some amazing wickets near the death. You can't just take that component out.
I actually have a theory behind why Pakistan has been doing great in the death. It's because during the death overs, it sort of becomes a T20-esque game where, you know, the batsman is trying to hit you, and Pakistani bowlers are great T20 bowlers. So they know exactly how to bowl. Slow ball, length ball, bouncers, cutters, Yorkers, and that's when they succeed. Excel.
Yeah, totally. I think that you stick with this combination. I actually want to see what Salman Ali Agha can do, because that is something that is another untapped position where is he better than Nawaz? Can he break the ball? Can he spin it? Can he bring it in? Maybe a quick few overs from him can also make a difference. So right now, I know what your reservations are, Bashar, that if they might go for runs against better teams in the beginning, but if it's not broken so far, don't fix it.
I also feel like Babar has a lot more trust in Iftikhar as a bowler, and that's why we haven't seen Salman Ali Agha bowl yet. There's also a theory that perhaps Saud Shakil could even bowl, but I think at this World Cup stage, it's too risky to give or to try out bowlers in the middle of the match. You know, if they go for runs, all the internet gurus will be out there saying, why did he give it over to Saud Shakil? So it seems like whatever Babar Azam does, there's criticism on him. And we're talking about this in the Discord chat where Babar Azam is that, like, we love Babar Azam so much, and sometimes too much, to a toxic level, where he's that kind of a kid where if he gets 99 on the math test, we ask him why he lost at one point. Why didn't he get 100%? So we're sometimes overly harsh on him. I think we need to be a bit more easy on Babar Azam. We haven't had a batsman like him in decades, and I think he's genuinely trying his best as a captain. So let's back him for the next few games. We'll have a different conversation once the World Cup is over and we have a better line of sight as to how Pakistan is doing.
Yeah, and then at this point, I guess this is a good place to end the podcast. The next thing that I want to discuss on the next episode has to be what the hell is going on with England and their board and their cricket team. It's an insanity what's going on. Every time I see Nasser Hussain's sad puppy dog face on Sky News Cricket, I just feel bad for the guy. So that's a whole conundrum that we're trying to unravel as well. You know, I hope Pakistan makes it through, man. It's going to be an interesting next, couple of weeks. And I think Pakistan has a chance to actually make history again. We've said this on this podcast that we don't want a 1992-esque scenario every time, because I feel like every time that happens, our mistakes get covered up. So that being said, we are desperate for a win here, and we're desperate for a semi-final position. So I don't care right now. I'm going to go back on every single thing I've said. Let's make it to the semis. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a fun time. Thank you guys for joining us in. Thank you for the Patreon fam for sending in their questions, Discord fam for engaging us throughout the games, and the Spotify and Apple podcast fam for just tuning in and vibing with us. All the descriptions for all of the ways you can support us are in the descriptions below. So all the links that are there. And I think it's time to sign off, Bashar.
Take care and have a good one.
Cheers, guys.